Ready to travel back in time with us? Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of Stoic philosophy with Marcus Aurelius.
Not just any Stoic philosopher.
Right.
This guy was an emperor dealing with some pretty serious problems.
I mean, leading an empire.
Revolts, famines, all of it. Trying to figure out how to live a good life at the same time.
Exactly. Our deep dive is on excerpts from Meditations, his personal writings, specifically books 3 and 4.
All right.
Going to uncover Aurelius's unique approach to Stoicism.
See
how it all still matters today, even if you're not running an empire.
A lot of people, when they hear Stoicism, they think it's just about accepting everything. No emotions.
But just being like a robot.
Yeah. Aurelius had a different take on things, a little more nuanced.
Yeah, it's not about being a robot.
Yeah.
So what jumps out at you first from these books?
Well, right away, Aurelius really zeroes in on this idea of apatheia.
Apatheia. Sounds a lot like apathy.
It does.
Is that what he's getting at? Like just not caring at all?
Not exactly. More like understanding the natural order.
Okay.
And recognizing that you only control your own thoughts and actions, right? We stress about so much that we can't even change.
It's like being stuck in traffic when you're already late. Can't do anything about it except get stressed.
Exactly. Apatheia is about recognizing that and choosing to not let it control you.
Okay.
It's about that freedom.
So it's kind of empowering in a way.
Absolutely.
They're taking back control.
Yeah, you find agency even when everything's crazy, which,
They probably needed a lot of that running the empire.
For sure.
It feels very personal, his stoicism, introspective.
Yes, definitely. That's what makes meditation so fascinating.
Yeah.
Other Stoics, like Zeno, they were all about logic and reason. Aurelius really grapples with his feelings.
Yeah.
It's almost like reading his diary, figuring out these principles in his own life.
He even talks about finding peace in your soul, contemplation as the key to understanding.
Yeah, and he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
No, like in book 3, there's this vivid imagery like decaying figs, gaping lion jaws.
Wait.
Not exactly your typical feel-good stuff. What's he doing there?
He's challenging us.
Yeah.
Find beauty in the stuff we usually find unpleasant, even gross.
Oh.
He's talking about that cycle of life and death.
Okay.
Accepting that things change,
Yeah.
That's part of appreciating beauty.
So instead of being grossed out by a rotting fig, you could see it as part of something bigger.
Right. Going back to your becoming something new.
That shift in perspective.
Exactly. Accepting death as part of life, that's really important in Stoicism.
He even talks about Hippocrates, the famous doctor, dying even with all his knowledge.
It's a reminder, even the best of us, we can't escape it.
Right.
And instead of fearing death, Aurelius is saying, see it as part of the big picture.
So how do we do that? Find beauty in the unexpected.
It's kind of
Easier said than done, right?
It is, but it starts with being mindful. Really observing. Next time you see something you'd usually find unpleasant, pause, try to look at it differently. What's going on beneath the surface? What's the bigger process?
See the beauty in the decay, the cycle.
Exactly. And it can change how you view aging. Fears about decline. Every stage of life has beauty.
In book 4, Aurelius talks about retiring into thyself as a source of strength. What's that about? It sounds like withdrawing from the world.
In a way, he is saying that, but not giving up on everything. It's more about creating a space inside yourself.
Okay.
Where you can find peace, no matter what's happening outside.
Kind of like a retreat for your soul, where you can recharge.
Exactly.
It's like that quote from book 4, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul.
Powerful, right.
But honestly, finding that inner peace is hard today.
Oh, yeah.
Constant notifications, the news, social media.
It's like we're always plugged in, reacting to something. That's why this is even more relevant now. Aurelius' time, life was simpler in some ways.
Yeah.
But we need that inner sanctuary even more now.
So what? We're talking meditation, yoga. How do we retire into thyself?
It can be things like that. But really, it's about making space for reflection. Could be simple, a walk in nature, no phone, journaling.
It's about choosing where your attention goes, right? Not getting swept away by all the distractions.
Exactly. You're taking back control of your mental space.
Like we were talking about before with Apatheia.
Exactly.
Kind of all ties together.
It does. And speaking of control, Aurelius has a lot to say about how we deal with challenges. He even uses this amazing fire analogy in book 4.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Remind me how it goes again.
So imagine your spirit, your resilience like a fire inside you.
Okay.
The challenges you face. There's the fuel.
Ah, okay.
They don't put out the fire, they make it stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But that only works if you approach them with the right mindset, with apathy.
So, not avoiding challenges, but seeing them as chances to grow, I can relate to that. Think about a time you were stressed at work, like a crazy deadline, a difficult colleague, a project going off the rails. Aurelius reminds us we can't control those things. What we can control is how we react.
And that's where Stoicism comes in. It gives you those tools to manage your emotions, even when things are chaotic. It's about focusing your energy on what you can influence.
So, how do we apply these big ideas to our everyday lives? I mean, Aurelius was an emperor. His problems were a bit different from mine, right?
Well, in Book 4, he gives some surprisingly practical advice. For example, he talks about acting with purpose, in accordance with reason, not just following fleeting desires. Think about your own goals. Are you chasing what truly matters or just reacting to what everyone else is doing?
It's so relevant, especially with social media. It's easy to get caught up in comparing yourself and lose sight of your own values. It's like he predicted influencer culture, but like 2,000 years ago.
He also talks about not being swayed by fame or external validation. It's about finding contentment within yourself, not in external things. One of my favorite quotes from Book 4 is, "Love the art, poor as it may be, which thou hast learned, and be content with it."
Wow, powerful message. Especially in a world where everyone's trying to be an entrepreneur and influencer, it's a reminder to find fulfillment in the work itself, in the process.
Absolutely. And Aurelius goes on to say we should be open to changing our minds if someone has a better argument, as long as it's based on reason and truth, not just what's popular or feels good. Think about the last time you disagreed with someone. Were you really open to their perspective, or were you just defending your own?
Ouch, that one hits close to home. It's easy to get defensive when someone challenges our beliefs.
Aurelius would say true wisdom is being open to new information, adjusting our course when necessary. It's about humility, admitting when we might be wrong.
That's a big ask. It's like we need to constantly question our assumptions, look at things from different angles.
That's a huge part of Stoicism. It's about using our reason, our critical thinking, to figure out what's truly valuable, especially now with so much information overload.
Yeah, gotta be discerning.
Exactly, figure out what's true, what matters.
He also had some pretty radical ideas about how we're all connected, right? Not just to each other, but to the whole universe.
Yes, he talks about the world as a political community. We're all citizens. It's fascinating. He's drawing a parallel between the human community and the natural world. Like, we have responsibilities to our fellow citizens in a state, but also responsibilities to the universe as a whole.
So we're all part of this larger web of life. Our actions have effects beyond ourselves. It makes you think our modern world, with all its focus on the individual, on competition, maybe it's a little out of sync with this ancient wisdom.
It does raise a big question for us today. How do we balance our individual needs with the well-being of the planet, of future generations? Aurelius would probably say those things aren't mutually exclusive. True fulfillment comes from aligning ourselves with the natural order.
That's deep. Okay, I have to ask about death. It's a big theme in Stoicism, and Aurelius seems to have some unique thoughts about it.
He talks about death a lot in Book 4, but not in a morbid way. He sees it as a natural part of the cycle, like birth and growth, nothing to be feared. He even compares it to the decomposition of elements, reminding us we're all made up of the same stuff.
Letting go of the fear of death by understanding it as a process, returning to the elements.
He has this line, "It is no evil for things to undergo change, and no good for things to subsist in consequence of change. Change is the essence of the universe. Resisting it is pointless."
I love that story he tells about the grains of frankincense falling on the altar. One falls before the flame, another after. It makes no difference. Such a simple but powerful metaphor for how small our individual lives are in the grand scheme of things.
It's about recognizing we're all part of this flow of time and events. Our worries, anxieties, they're fleeting.
And that striking image of the soul as a little soul bearing about a corpse.
He's quoting Epictetus there, another Stoic. It's a stark reminder. Our bodies are temporary vessels for our souls. True freedom comes from detaching ourselves from material things. The soul, the mind, is what endures.
It's not about denying the body, but putting things in perspective.
Exactly. And that leads to one of the most powerful themes, finding tranquility and contentment in the present moment. He keeps reminding us, life is short. Make the most of it.
And that's where his advice gets really practical. Focus on what's important. Don't waste time on trivial stuff. Don't worry about things you can't control. He even suggests limiting how many things we occupy ourselves with. incredibly relevant in our age of constant distraction.
He's saying, simplify your life, focus on what matters, you'll find more peace, more fulfillment.
And he keeps coming back to this idea of not being swayed by fame, by external validation, which, let's be real, is a constant struggle in our social media world. He's saying true happiness doesn't come from other people's approval. It comes from living by your values. It's finding contentment within yourself, not in external things.
He even says praise is only valuable if it has a certain utility. He's challenging us to check our motives. Why are we seeking approval? Are we doing things for the right reasons, or just trying to impress others? It's a reminder to be authentic, find satisfaction in the work itself, not the accolades.
And to really show how fleeting fame is, he talks about how even the names of famous people eventually fade away. It's a sobering thought, but also liberating.
It is. It frees you from that pressure to constantly chase recognition, lets you focus on what matters now. He even encourages us to imagine ourselves at the point of death, really contemplate our mortality.
Whoa, intense.
Might seem morbid, but it's a powerful way to gain perspective. Imagining our own end helps us see what's truly important, let go of the stuff that doesn't matter. And he doesn't just talk about it abstractly. He gives concrete examples of people clinging to life, only to end up in their tombs just like everyone else.
He's really saying death is inevitable. Don't fear it, don't deny it, accept it. Focus on living a meaningful life while you can.
And a meaningful life, for Aurelius, means acting justly, being kind, even when it's hard. That's where his Stoicism shines. He's not just talking philosophy, he's giving us real guidance on how to live well.
It's about cultivating inner strength, resilience, so we can face life's challenges with grace and dignity, not letting external events control our emotions.
Exactly. He says, unhappy am I because this has happened to me. Not so, but happy am I, though this has happened to me, because I continue free from pain, neither crushed by the present nor fearing the future. We have the power to choose our response. That's true freedom, not being a victim of your circumstances.
Powerful idea. We have more control than we think.
And he reminds us, we find that strength by connecting to our inner selves, that divine part that's capable of reason, virtue, wisdom.
Accepting what happens, but also recognizing our ability to choose how we respond. That balance between acceptance and action, surrendering to what is and striving for what could be.
And I think that's the essence of Aurelius' Stoicism. It's not about denying emotions, ignoring the world. It's about finding a way to live in harmony with both our inner selves and the universe as a whole.
Like he's giving us this guide, how to deal with everything life throws at us, no matter what happens.
It is about taking ownership, you know?
Yeah.
It reminds me of those parts in book 4 where he's describing all these different types of people.
Oh, right.
The black character, the womanish character, the stubborn, the bestial.
It's like a whole cast of characters.
Like a whole rogues gallery of bad behavior.
So he's just calling people out.
Not really.
Oh.
It's more like he's using these characters to show us vices, how they mess things up.
Okay.
For individuals, for society.
Yeah.
It's like he's holding up this mirror, helping us see those same tendencies in ourselves.
That's a good point. It's easy to judge other people, but harder to see those flaws in ourselves.
And that's self-awareness. That's so important if you want to grow.
Yeah.
Got to acknowledge those weaknesses.
There's that line that always gets me where he talks about the person who just withdraws from society.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't like how things are going.
Right. Unhappy with
He
everything.
calls them an abscess on the universe.
Strong words.
Yeah.
But his point is, we're all connected.
Right.
Isolating yourself, checking out because you're disillusioned. It didn't help anyone, especially not yourself.
Which is tempting, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
When everything's so overwhelming, you just want to tune it all out.
Yeah. But he's saying we got to stay engaged.
Yeah.
Keep fighting for what's right, even when it's tough.
Be part of the solution.
Exactly. Can't just hide in our little bubbles.
There's also that image I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Where he compares those two types of philosophers, one without a tunic, one without a book.
Oh, I love that one.
What's that about?
It's about appearances versus true wisdom. You know, the guy without the tunic.
Yeah.
He might be trying to look simple, ascetic, but real wisdom, it's not about what's on the outside. It's what's inside.
So don't judge a philosopher by their clothes.
Exactly. Wisdom can come from anywhere.
It's about living your values.
Right. And that can look different for everyone.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
What's the main thing you want our listener to take away from all this?
I think Aurelius is showing us how to handle life's challenges with grace, with wisdom. He's saying we find peace not by ignoring the world, but by choosing how we react to it.
Yeah, finding that inner strength,
Exactly.
accepting what we can't change,
Focusing on what truly matters.
living a good life, a meaningful life.
And what's amazing is these ideas, they still make sense today, just like they did 2,000 years ago.
Timeless wisdom.
The power of good philosophy, right?
It really can help us live better lives.
Absolutely.
So after spending this time with Marcus Aurelius, with his meditations,
Mhm.
what wisdom have you found?
Yeah.
What challenges are you facing where these ideas might help?
It's easy to read these things and agree, but the real test is putting it all into practice.
Right.
So I'd say take some time to think about your own experiences. What are your meditations? Maybe start writing down your thoughts, what you're learning.
That's a great challenge.
It is.
And with that, we'll leave you to explore your own inner wisdom.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Stoic philosophy.
See you next time.